Hi, it's Larry Herb, Xbox's Major Nelson. Welcome to the Xbox Podcast. What a week it's been, 20th anniversary of Xbox. We're going to talk about that in just a minute. And not only that, Phil Spencer's coming back on the show with the GM of DICE, Oscar Gabrielson, to talk about Battlefield. So we've got Battlefield, we have Halo, we have games, we have 20th anniversary, and now we have Jeff. There we go.
Bringing up the rear, the caboose of this week's Xbox Podcast.
This is the second show. Of course, we had one on Monday for the 20th anniversary, little surprise action with Phil came on. We had the folks from Halo to talk about their news. So it was lovely. And so it's great to be back in the studio again, but this time with you. But unfortunately, again, no Rebecca. She'll be back on our next show.
All right, y'all. If we miss Rebecca, we miss Rebecca's mom, watching the show. We can see one fewer viewer these past couple of weeks, and it's definitely stood out in the metrics, but we get Phil twice in a week. I think we can be okay with that.
You only get that once in a while. And it was just so good to talk to him on Monday about the 20th anniversary. And it's, we've been playing, we tried playing Halo the other night. We were doing a little bit of that. Yeah. Go ahead, Jeffrey. What?
No, I just, what a week. Like, let's just take this in. Yeah. Like it's 20th anniversary of Xbox, 20th anniversry
look at this
Halo. Yes.
I have this sweatshirt, and this is an original sweatshirt. This isn't like a classic. This is like the original that I got when I first joined the team. I've had it for this many years.
Yeah, I think I only have stuff because I've been here 8 years actually.
Congratulations!
Just hit my anniversary. Thank you. So 40%, very neatly 40% of the history of Xbox, and so I only have my oldest shirt is it's definitely faded here, but it's from the Xbox One generation, the first sort of gear that we official gear we put out. I have a bunch of Gears stuff, but yes,
I think the headline is Jeffrey, you, and I'm not so worried about you, but I'm worried about me.
I'm worried about me.
Is it still fits after 20 years?
Hey,
right?
That's good. That's exactly. Good. I mean, no, I don't. We can only see so much. That could be a crop sweatshirt right now. Crop hoodies don't stand up. Crop hoodies are very in style right now. It fits. It absolutely fits.
Are they?
Well done.
Are they?
Oh, yeah. Okay. I mean, I don't know. My kids got that's the look. And I'm like, it's like 40 degrees out, but you know what? Kids are going to do what they're going to do. But yeah, I mean, incredible week. This may also be the best week for FPS shooters, like in Xbox history, with both Battlefield and Halo. That's pretty much what we've been playing, both of those over the course of the last week, and having just so much fun. Both sort of reliving sort of our past glory days, and the best memories I feel like that I've had since I've started here, and even just going back is playing games like. We were super into Battlefield 4, Battlefield 1942. Before I started working here, I was a big fan of course, Halo 3 and Halo 2 and tons of Halo 5 we played together and the Master Chief Collection. Having new entries from both back to back. And it's interesting, seeing how they're different and we get different feels from both and just alternating back and forth has just been super fun. I just need to get better at both of them, seems to be my...
You're doing pretty good. We had wait a minute. We had a pretty good run over the weekend playing Battlefield. We had a lot of fun doing that, didn't we? I mean, dropping in from above and hitting the top, and we tried some of the new modes, right? Where we had to use the scanner to find the chips, and it was fun.
Yeah, I think we had a good time with that. I think I got to work on my timing, and so my favorite thing is being an engineer. Although I've really gravitated towards one of the medic characters so far in Battlefield, but that sort of feel of when do you bail out of the tank because it's taking a beating? There's exactly, and I keep having the same thing, which is either I stay 1 second too long and it goes, or I hop out and I'm like, I'm getting out this time, and then it's like, oh wait, it didn't blow up, and then
somebody took it, somebody stole it from you, right?
Yeah, it's happened more than once. So really enjoying that. I know we're going to continue to keep playing, all through the week, but it's just been awesome, and I'm just thinking about. What was really fun for me on Monday, especially, is just on Twitter and on Instagram specifically, people going through and talking about their Xbox memories. And I ended up focusing really on just the last 8 years because, very top of mind for me. But it made me wonder, I was thinking about this morning, Larry, what is your first Xbox memory? I'm sure it's probably more than 20 years ago that you probably first heard of this. I'm just curious, like, what was your first? I've heard almost all of your stories.
I will tell you this one. I don't think you've ever heard this one. The first Xbox story was December 2001. I was not working on the Xbox team, and I came home, and it was Christmas, and my wife bought me the original Xbox.
So you weren't there day one.
No.
You came on a little bit later.
I came on a little bit later, and I was working at a separate part of Microsoft. Now, the funny part of it was, and I have told this story, it's a bookend with my wife and I, because when we first got married, I'll never forget this, and I apologies for any generalizations, but here it is. When we first got married, she we got married, went on the honeymoon, the whole thing. We moved into my apartment, which was my apartment. She moved in with me, and then it became our apartment. And I was at work one day, Jeff, and I came back and I wanted to play my Super Nintendo or my Sega Genesis. And I came home.
We've all been there.
First of all, the apartment was spotless. I was like, oh wow, okay, is this what being married is like? Because I'm not that I'm I'm not unclean or cluttered, but it was just, it was a bachelor pad at that point. She turned it into a beautiful home, and I'm like, where's my consoles? And she said, oh, I gave them away.
And
that's exactly what I did. And I said,
you're still married?
I
said, that would have been
no, because my wife, who you've met, played it very well. I said, what do you, I'm like getting angry. I'm like, what do you mean you gave them away? She's like, well, I gave them away. I put them in a box and I brought them to the Connecticut Children's Hospital, the cancer ward, so the kids could play. I thought you'd like that. So now what do I say? Now
there's nothing you can say.
There's nothing
other than I'm going to Target and I'll be right back to replace those.
So I was like, all right. So I ended up getting my Atari Lynx or some small portable device after that. And so so a few years later, this was just a few years later, that was her kind of I don't want to say redeeming herself, but she's like, oh, I wanted to get this for you. So that was my first introduction to Xboxes. I'll never forget. I was sitting in this house, because we lived in this house, in the other room, and I had a big 25 or 30 inch 16:9 high def, because it was high def 720p. It was a tube TV, and this thing was enormous. It must have weighed 300 pounds. And I still have a picture of me sitting there, like in front of it, like I'm 10 years old, like inches from the screen, playing Halo. And so that was one of my very first memories, is unboxing it. And I remember pulling the box out just in the other room, and I remember putting it together and plugging it all in and booting it up around the whole thing. And that was my very first memory.
That's awesome. I didn't know that. I definitely didn't know about the giving away of that's such a move, though, because there's nothing you can do at that point. I mean, yes, of course the kids should have this.
Of course they should have it. I'm glad they're enjoying it, honey.
She's smart. She's smart.
What about you? Are you
shrewd? Maybe.
Do you have an early memory of the original Xbox?
Yeah. Well, so I had kind of gotten out of gaming a little bit after college. I was trying to, get my life together, figure out where I was going to live. I'd gone through a breakup with my college girlfriend, and I was like, going out a lot and whatever. And I don't think I had any gaming. I might have had like a Game Boy Advance SP or something like that. And I was at a friend's cousin's house in South Florida, and I'm just sort of talking to him and his uncle, and I'm like, what are you playing over there? There was, his nephew or cousin was playing, and he was playing the original Halo on the Duke. Yep. And I'm just like, well, you're playing at FPS with a controller? Right. Like, what? Like, is that even possible? And he's like, yeah, it's really cool. And I sat down, and then I don't remember the rest of anything else that happened that day, because I just locked in and I played until it was time for us to go. And I was like, yeah, no, I drove you. You have to go now. And so that was in the summer of 2003. And then I was living in Florida at the time. And I went to the Best Buy in Brevard County, I think Rockledge or something, where my girlfriend was living at the time. And I ended up getting because I just became obsessed with it. Like the lack of playing games for a while just like came thundering back. Right. And I have to have at that time there was a bundle. Yeah. There was a bundle for the Xbox with original Halo, Jet Set Radio Future, there was a racing game. It might have been like Sega GT or something like that. So it was 3 games right in there. And then I bought Ninja Gaiden.
Right.
And I remember taking that and going over to my parents' house and plugging it in and playing it. And I was like, let's check it out. And so Ninja Gaiden was actually the first game I put in there. My 10 or 11-year-old brother was there watching. And I very quickly like beheaded somebody.
Right.
And I was like, okay, you need to go now. But I remember just being blown away by that game. Of course, getting sucked into Halo. And my God, just what such just concrete memories. And to think that like, I guess 18 years later that we're here now, it's just awesome. Who would have thought?
Well, it's it's funny. I was thinking about that as well. Another thought that came in is back then, with the original Halos, you could do LAN parties, and there was no concept of online yet because Xbox Live hadn't come online. And I remember using this service called GameSpy, where you could like log in with your PC and you bridged it from your console, so you could essentially play there was no voice. You could essentially manually matchmake with other people. And my neighbor used to come over. He's a dentist, and he would come over after his work and after he put his kids to bed, and we would play in the other room till God only knows what hour of the morning. And we just had the best time. So it was anyway. So I was thinking about that as well. So yeah, it's been some fun times for 20 years.
Yeah, I remember taking it around and going because I was just so blown away by Halo and like taking it to like friends' house, and we would just do split screen like 1 versus 1. I was like, you have to try this. It controls so well. It's so awesome.
Right.
And it feels so. Very fresh memories, but at the same time, like where it's come now, and we're playing like gigantic matches and everything is. Who would have thought? Probably engineers at Redmond at the time.
It was so great to see on the stream that we did on Monday. Where did you? I know you watched the stream, but it was so amazing to see Robbie Bach open the stream. Robbie was the head of Xbox when I joined, and he's the man that frankly started it all. And he is one of the most amazing people I've ever met. I'm going to get him on a future podcast because we're going to actually talk. Yeah. I'm actually really excited to finally talk about this, because inside the stream, we had some things that we've revealed, one of which was, of course, Halo Infinite, available now or at that moment, the multiplayer. But also there's a documentary coming out, 6-part documentary, Power On, the story of Xbox, Jeff, which I'm in. I don't know if I made the final cut, but they interviewed me for quite a bit.
You've made the cut, Larry. Come on.
A few hours there. But I'm gonna do a series of podcasts probably next December, January after it airs, and we're gonna get some. So tell me what you like in that thing, and I'm gonna get some of those folks back on that we interviewed, and I'm gonna talk to them, and we're gonna ask your questions. So I'm really excited about that. That's coming in a month and a half or so. So we got
you should do like a post show or something and release it after each one, talking about some of that same stuff. That could be really fun.
Yeah, that's kind of what we're going to do. So we're going to do that. And then, of course, in the stream, we talked about, and later on in the show, we talked about interviews. I've got some interviews coming up later on, one of which is we're going to talk about game streaming to the console. Why? Why would you want to do that? You're going to find out why. It's going to be easy and fast. And then coming back on, actually, I think this is the first time ever Jason Ronald is in the show with you, Jeff.
We've never been in the same place. We still haven't been, I think, on the same screen at the same time.
That's true.
You know what? It's good. It's good. He's he can always take my place on the show. The fact that we can coexist, well, it hasn't happened yet. So we'll see. It could be afterwards. You come back and he's going to be in this seat.
You're in the same universe. But no, Peggy Lowe's going to come on. We saw Peggy on the stream talking about the 70 titles that they released on Back at Bat. That there was a shadow drop. So it's been a big week for Xbox. By the way, make sure if you get a chance, Jeff, and I know that some folks have done this, but you can go to, where's my controller? You can actually go to I put this in the corner there. You can go to your console and you've got this background that you can use, this OG background, but we added a new background. Have you seen this?
Show it to me.
Let's go here. Where is it? My background.
Read my background?
Yeah, it's down here, dynamic. But there's a brand new one over here. Check this out. We announced this earlier this week. There it is, the Xbox 360 one. So the ring, I think we called these
animates. I love that.
Yeah, I think we called these the Rings of Light back in the day. I can't remember. But anyway,
this almost looks like it's like inspired by like a combination of Xbox 360 and Psychonauts. It has like those bold colors in there together. Yeah. By the way, congrats to Psychonauts being nominated as Game of the Year for the Game Awards that will be happening in December. Great to see it up there. Also great to see Deathloop from our friends at Bethesda. Actually, really all of the Game of the Year noms are excellent games. Once again, a great year for gaming.
I won't violate anyone's confidentiality or privacy, but I should share with you. Where is it? I've had quite a text thread going with Jeff Keighley about how Forza got robbed. So, Forza Horizon got robbed.
I think, if we look at, the reviewers, if we look at the fans, Forza Horizon 5 is very much in the conversation for Game of the Year. I don't know the criteria for this particular show.
Yeah. But anyway, we're looking forward to that. And it's funny is there's the coincidence. Not 20 nominations in our 20th year. Coincidence? I don't know.
That's a lot of nominations.
Yeah, it's a lot of nominations. So looking forward to the show, the Game Awards. I'll get Jeff on and prior to the awards, I'll have him come on and talk about that and bust his chops a little bit about Forza. I mean, I know he does it. He's not making all the decisions, so it's difficult to put everything on him. But who else am I going to put it on? So
yeah. I mean, it is. He's the host. So
yeah, exactly.
You get the good with the bad.
It's his baby. But yeah, and you and I may be going to LA. It's one of our first business trips. You've been on one, but it'll be one of my first ones as well. Yeah. So looking.
Yeah, no, that'll be fun. I got the invite. So do we have to go clothes shopping? I haven't worn anything but sweatpants and t-shirts for better part of 2 years. And I don't. Do you wear a suit? Like, what are full tux?
I'm gonna bring my A game. I mean, I'm gonna dust off the stuff in the back of the closet that I haven't been able to use on any shows. So why not? Why not?
Big cummerbunds, or right? You had a lot of blazers. So we haven't seen those.
I've got a lot up in the closet.
Blazer, Larry.
Talk about what we're playing. We talked about Halo Infinite. We talked about Battlefield. Those have really been dominating our playtime this week. I know it's been you and I have been playing a lot of it, haven't you? You've been playing a lot.
Yeah, for sure. We had a really good. I'm thinking about what was the best match we had all week in Halo, and I think it was is it Griffball or Oddball? I'm not sure which mode it is in the arena, but you hold the skull. Oddball.
Yeah.
And man, we had you and I finished first and second, both in terms of like time. I mean, it was on the scoreboard, but there was we both had the most amount of time with the ball. And then I had 16 limbs and I think you had 17. That was really good. I now know where the Bulldog shotgun is on that city map.
Yeah.
That's the thing you want to get. It's sitting on like a vending machine. I looked around, I went into training mode last night just so I could pinpoint where it is.
Very helpful.
Yes. You could turn off the bots, you could turn off everything. And then one thing I didn't realize until we were playing with a couple of people from 343. So going through, hit down from time to time, and it will very quickly sort of pulse down on the D-pad. And you'll see, there's through the wall even, there's grenades there. There's a place where the sort of weapons respawn, things like the BR and really like I think it's called the VK. Anyway, so use that down from time. If you're like, I know it's around here somewhere, hit down on the D-pad. You'll see it flash and pop up.
Yeah, they'll kind of light up there. Here's my tip. Can I share a tip?
Larry, it's your show. Go.
Well, it's our show. I shared it on Twitter earlier this week. But if you go into shop, and you go down here to the HCS store, HCS offers, this one right down here on the bottom left is free.
There you go.
So that you can pick this up for free. By the way, to me, this looks like, I don't know if you saw my tweet.
Captain America.
No, it looks like a rocket pop to me, right? Remember those when you were a little kid getting it out of the good humor? The red, white, and blue rocket pops? Yeah. By the way,
it's for the U.S. men's national team.
This one I have. This is my favorite one. I bought this one.
So I had bought the one below it. With the red arm, because I just thought it looked cool. The Sentinels one. Sorry, one more down. That's sort of your Baltimore Orioles, Philly Flyers one. I just thought it looked cool.
Oh, that looks cool.
So I got it. But then I ended up getting the Cloud9 one as well, just because it also looks really cool.
Right.
So a lot of these look really good. And of course, we're making our way through the Battle Pass. Got a lot of work to do there. Yeah. But I know we're just going to be playing a ton more.
I don't know. I want to show this to you, actually. I don't know if you've seen this.
Yeah, go ahead.
But I actually, what is your Spartan ID?
I think, so Xbox, it wouldn't let me choose Xbox. So I had XBX1, I think.
Your service tag. Because I've got mine as my last name, because I've got fortunately I have 4 letters as my last name.
It works out perfectly.
So if you want, you know what?
Changed it.
If you'd like to use that, Jeff, you're welcome to.
That'd be a little weird.
I know, be a little weird.
It'd be a little weird. Yeah, I only have 10 letters in my last name, so I don't know. I don't. We'll figure it out.
Anyway,
Yeah. One other thing I just wanted to talk about real quick that I ended up playing before. So last weekend at this point was the Elden Ring technical test.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
That was available over the weekend. So Elden Ring being the combination of Miyazaki, who is responsible for all the Dark Souls games over the course of the past decade at this point, I think. And George R.R. Martin, the writer of Game of Thrones.
Right.
And it's basically the closest thing. It's basically an sort of an open world take on these Souls games. And it's really cool. I had so much fun with it over the weekend. It's funny. It's a Souls game at its heart.
Right.
And so it is challenging, very, very challenging. But at the same time, because it's a much more open space, you could choose how to tackle things, and you can focus in on easier to, I would say it's the most approachable of all of these games. If we were to look everything from Demon Souls to Bloodborne to all Dark Souls 1, 2, 3, this felt to me like something where you can get in there and you're not immediately going to be punished if you're smart. There's stealth elements. I really enjoyed using the Enchanted Knight, which I had like a staff in one hand where I could shoot magic, and then I ended up getting some sort of spear or some sort of sword in the other. I was just having so much fun. So that comes out in February. Just can't wait now. It's definitely now I know what my most anticipated game of next year is. I think a lot of people were saying that. And if you've never played a Souls game, this feels like, don't rule this out, is what I would say. Keep an eye on it, because this might be the one where you say, okay, I get it now. And for me, that was Dark Souls 3, and I can't wait to play a lot more of this. I think there's going to be a lot of YouTubers that are just going to be making guides and guides and guides because the game is so big and there's going to be so many things to find out and discover. I'm just so excited.
We should take a break now. Maybe get ready for the interviews. Do you have the notes about the interviews in front of you?
I sure do.
All right, I'll let you bring us in the interview, since I was the chatty one this week.
People want to hear you talk, Larry. But first, we're going to talk. We're going to talk about game streaming coming to console, as was announced earlier this week. And what does it mean? Why do you want to do that? Well, Jake Rosenberg, the senior program manager, will talk all about streaming to the console. We'll also speak with Peggy Lowe and Jason Ronald about the latest Back and Pat news, as we briefly talked about 70 new titles from previous generations being playable on Xbox Series X and S and enhanced and entering the program. Well, a lot more about that. And then, leading off, DICE's GM Oscar Gabrielson will join Phil Spencer to talk about this amazing week of shooters on Xbox with both Battlefield and Halo. Let's get to them.
What a week it is right now. Earlier this week, we had Halo launch. We've got Battlefield out right now. Joining me is over there on the left side, Mr. Phil Spencer, and on the right side, Mr. Oscar Gabrielson from DICE. Oscar, good to see you. Phil, good to see you guys.
It's great to be here, Larry.
Oscar, I got to tell you, I'm so excited for you guys. You guys launched Battlefield this week. It's, as I just said, it's an amazing time to be a gamer with all of these options out there. First of all, congratulations on launching, because that's a big feat, right?
Yeah, thanks. It's been great, right? The team's been working so hard for these past 3 years. It's just finally great to have the game in all of our players' hands.
You know, I was looking at some of the math, and Battlefield's almost 20 years old. Of course, this week Xbox celebrates it is 20 years old. So, Phil, we've kind of been along together on a journey for quite some time, haven't we?
Yeah, I'd say both Battlefield and our obviously relationship with DICE and Electronic Arts goes back, from kind of the core beginning of what Xboxes have been about. And I'm just really proud to see the work that Oscar and the team have done. I see people loving Battlefield, kind of getting back to what I think some of the roots of what Battlefield was originally about. And the partnership we've had here and across many things with EA are just important to what Xbox, the brand, means today.
It's interesting you say that, because I was chatting with some friends, and Oscar, I've played Battlefield for a long time. Phil, you and I have not played yet, so we need to figure that out.
The plan for the weekend.
Exactly.
That's right.
But Battlefield has always been so good capturing those epic moments. Phil, I was talking with some friends where, you're kind of going through the Battlefield. First of all, the play space is huge. I mean, 124 players on Xbox Series X and S, but you're going through and, the jets are coming over, and there's a tank coming up over this way. There's some infantry over there. It's really great how you've captured the essence of a battlefield. Tell us a little bit about how the team thinks about that.
Yeah, I mean, I always argue that the team always sets out to, go completely bonkers on what we call these battlefield moments. And we actually knew pretty early in the concept phase of this game that we would have access to a new line of hardware. So the team really set out this goal to really kind of push the boundaries of the sandbox, creating these, let's call them just completely like unexpected, crazy stunts that you can create in the midst of battle. Couple of big things in there. One is we've kind of upped the play space a whole lot. Some of our maps are 4 times bigger. 128 players, like we talked about. We have these real-time weather effects that you might have seen in some of our footage. Real-time tornadoes are pretty cool. And I think when this all comes together in Sandbox Mayhem, it's really fun. We've seen some awesome stuff just the first couple of days in early access. Had some players strapping C5 on a drone, standing it up in the air and just blowing helicopters. And then there's this feature where now you can actually, like, in mid-flight, step out of your jet, take your sniper rifle, and then take some enemies off, jump into the jet, and then fly away again. Or even wingsuiting through skyscrapers. That's a fan favorite. It's really hard. I've tried, but yeah, it's cool.
Now, I guess I would be remiss if I didn't ask this question, Phil, and we did not talk about this beforehand, but what class are you, Phil? What class do you usually play if you're rolling in? Are you infantry? Are you support? Are you sniper?
I've always been support. Like, I think that's just, maybe it's just kind of to my skill set, kind of always what I enjoy playing. I wanted, though, to hit on some of what Oscar was saying about in terms of the game, because as we know, we can see what hardware we're going to go do. We go out and talk to important partners like DICE. And I remember when we started talking to DICE years ago about what we were doing with Xbox Series X and S, the CPU work that we were putting into the console. And I just thought it was such a great match when we sat down to what they wanted to go do with Battlefield. It's one of the reasons we've stayed in sync with that development team from the beginning, because they had this, as Oscar was just talking about, they had this aspiration for things that they wanted to do that, frankly, some of the CPU capabilities on the current gen at the time, I know they were like scratching their head on how that was going to be possible. And it was just great to have them along this journey, testing out the hardware, testing out the platform, and delivering just what I think is one of the most technical games that are in the market today, and just allowing 100 people plus playing together is fantastic.
Well done, Oscar. What can you say to that, right? That's a hell of an endorsement.
No, but the honest reality is very few times in a game developer's life do you get to go through a console generation. They don't tend to happen that often, right? And there's just so many of these ideas that we have, across whiteboards at the studio that have to wait for 5, 6, 7, 8 years. So this, in many ways, has been a fantastic project to get the chance to finally realize some of these ideas that have been on those whiteboards for years and years.
Oscar, what are you guys thinking as this release is coming up? You're finally in release, was in preview. Some people got early access a week ago with EA Play, which is amazing. But now it's out in the public, and you're watching this feedback roll in. I mean, that's got to be great to just start to get that real time feedback, because this community is so excited about the release, and we're just really interested in telling you what they think, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, I think a franchise that now soon turns 30. I think the team just has this enormous level of respect for the legacy of the franchise, and just a secret sauce that creates those Battlefield moments. Yeah. And as Battlefield's transitioned across platforms, game engines, gameplay trends, our goal always is to protect the integrity of that special sauce, that all-out warfare, epic scale experience, rock paper scissors gameplay. But at the same time, it's just really critical for us to kind of balance that respect so it doesn't go overboard with this, call it like a sense of curiosity. Now new ways for us to, continue to improve the formula. And we're kind of in this really special junction when we just ship a game. What you kind of see in our games is every single year, and every single game we ship, we introduce just loads of new mechanics. Some of them actually just exist for one iteration and they just don't come back. Some become permanent. But I think the trickiest ones are the ones where, when they initially arrive, they might not be fan favorites. But as a month passes, and maybe a quarter or a year, they actually do that. And I think, given all of the changes we've done in that core formula of Battlefield 2042, we have a couple of those right now, where players that have spent 20 years with the franchise say, hey, this is different. I don't know what to think about this. But I think our history tells us that after time, when players really get into the meta and gameplay, they really come and stick with players, those new fundamental ideas.
Yeah, I mean that's I know that I've been playing it for so many years, and Phil, you've had a chance to play it as well, and it's always fun to see what you guys are doing and how you're bringing in those new mechanics. Phil, when you I know we got to wrap up a little bit here because you guys are busy, but I want to kind of wrap it up by asking you, and both of you, in 21 years, it's going to be 2042. So Battlefield 2042 in 21 years. Where do we think gaming's going to be? And I know this is a tough question for you, Phil, because it's going to write all sorts of headlines. Oh, this is where Xbox is going. So I'm going to let you, if you want to answer that, you can. Otherwise, I was going to throw it over to Oscar.
Well, let me just tee up before Oscar, because Oscar's a creator. He's when we think about our platform and how it needs to evolve, it's to ensure that Oscar, teams like DICE can do absolute best work. So key to us in our platform plans, whether it's 21 years to 2042 or the next 21 months and things that we should be doing, is how do we create absolutely the best canvas for creators so they can create those amazing games. So the question you're asking right now is literally the question if Oscar and I were in the room and we were doing one of our debriefs, we said, okay, what should we be doing over the next 24 months? We usually don't ask 21 years, and that feedback. So I want to hear his answer as well, because this is what it means to build a gaming platform, is listening to creators and building the things that they need to build their games.
All right, Oscar, up to you.
Yeah, I think again, similar. I think we have these conversations every single day. Our dev cycles are long, and some of this kind of long range, innovation takes many, many years to get to. So I have a bunch of answers. I think there are two things that we talk a whole lot about the studio. One is actually the first is notion of cloud computing. Sometimes when we talk about cloud, we talk about access, which is getting the opportunity to play a game like Battlefield on any device. But the second piece is actually the computing aspects. Battlefield, and we talked about CPUs just now, destruction, AI, those pieces. Getting the opportunity to do some of that simulation on the cloud will really enable us to probably create another generation of Battlefield. So that's the first thing we're looking forward to. The second thing, I think you're maybe seeing in the mode we call Portal as part of Battlefield 2042. So if we think about games like Battlefield, historically, I'd say 99% of the world you play, the characters you play, the weapons you use are crafted by game creators like us. And we're really seeing this shift now where more of the things you play with on the battlefield or maybe in other games are actually created by machines, like machine learning or AI, or maybe more importantly, created by players. So I think for Battlefield and other franchises, we'll start seeing a shift in the content you actually consume. How much of that is created by a company like DICE or a studio like DICE? How much by actual machine learning and AI? And how much by players themselves? And what does that really look like when all those things come together in a singular map or a singular game mode? So that's really something we're thinking deeply about.
I think Oscar's off creating the Battlefield metaverse. We should just grab some buzzwords of the day, and that's
you never know. You never know. Love the buzzwords.
Listen, gentlemen, I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me, Phil. Phil, always good to see you. Let's get in there in that Battlefield. Oscar, thank you for joining us on the show, and we're going to talk a little bit about Portal with someone from your team in just a little bit. So thanks again for your time, gentlemen.
Awesome. Thanks for the time.
Care.
As we've been talking about, Battlefield 2042 is out, and Justin Wiebe is joining us to tell us about the new Portal mode in Battlefield. Justin, thanks for joining us.
Well, thanks for having me. It's great.
Hey, it's great. Congratulations on a launch this week, and I know a lot of folks are playing Battlefield and interested in this new Portal mode, which your team worked on. So tell us a little bit about what that is. I've got some video here, so we won't be looking at us the whole time, but I figure we'll at least show some video. So tell us about it.
Yeah, Ripple Effect Studios, we've been primarily focusing on the Portal game experience. Now, what this is really allowing the Battlefield players to build their own Battlefield experiences. The idea with it really was that we wanted to start with, a nostalgia play. We wanted to bring back those classic experiences that players used to, longingly play in Battlefield. Because whenever a new Battlefield is announced, you always hear from the fans right away before they know what it is. They're like, "Oh, I hope it's like Bad Company 2 or Battlefield 3 was it." And then you get the older generation like me saying, no, it's 1942, folks. That's where it started. and our answer for Portal was yes. Let's do it all. Let's give it all to them.
Yeah, I mean that's what I've noticed here as we go through some of the B-roll and some of the video I was just playing is that you can kind of see it here because you see a jet next to a Willys Jeep next to a Spitfire or an older aircraft, and here you're spawning everybody in here. So what you're telling me is in Portal I can set up exactly what I want to do, where I want to do it, the time period, and if possible, sometimes mash my time periods together, right?
Well, that's exactly right, and we didn't even start off that way, to be honest. We were just going to do a remastering of the classic experiences and release those.
Right.
And along the way, somebody on the team was like, "Well, if we got all this great stuff, like why can't we make it so like one team could be Bad Company 2 and another team could be 2042, and just like let them fight it out and kind of like say like who would win in a fight kind of scenario." And we thought about that. And we were like, there's absolutely no reason why we couldn't do that. We just, if we're going to make that decision, we need to do it like right now.
Right.
And we said, well, it just makes sense. Like we have to do this.
Now tell me, so obviously DICE is known for Battlefield and Ripple Effect. You guys worked on this part of it. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So Ripple Effect Studios is also formerly known as DICE LA.
Yeah.
So we've kind of rebranded the studio. It's an exciting time. We're kind of forging our own destiny now. And it's an exciting time to be part of the studio.
When getting back to Portal a little bit though, because like, how do you balance it out? Like, obviously infantry from World War II can compete with the modern machinery, the modern war machine of, 2042. So how do you kind of balance that?
Well, we don't actually balance it at all. That's the power we're giving to the players. So when a player wants to create something new, what they can do is they can go to the Portal website, and that's where the magic is really going to happen, where they can start going in and they can create these team versus team scenarios. There's a ton of settings that they can change so that if they want to, for example, they could make asymmetric experiences. So you could actually create a scenario where there's like 127 players on one team and only one on the other team, if you wanted to. Not saying that's the best design, but it's the power. We're giving them the power, and you know what? It's okay if things don't quite line up. That's the thing we wanted to do, is power to the builder and make sure that they could have the ability to create kind of what they're imagining.
Yeah, I mean it's what it is, and I've seen some of the elements that you get in there, and you create this amazing sandbox where you've got I mean, you can see some of the action right here, but you can see like twisters coming in, some of the here it is right here. You can see these massive moments that everybody knows from Battlefield, and kind of bring them all in together, and it's as it says right here, it's your Battlefield, right? You can do whatever you want with it. You can mix and match the way you want.
Yeah, you can mix and match the way you want. You can make it as crazy, or sometimes people may just want to say, there's that one thing that I love Battlefield, but in my version of Battlefield, my TTK might be a little bit different, right. And that there's an attachment on a particular weapon. I don't want that in my game, and they can just take it on a per attachment level. They could say that attachment's gone, or that ability is gone, or even say I only want you to play with one specific character and one specific weapon. And that's all really easy for players to be able to do on the Battlefield Builder. Then we get to the more advanced stuff in the logic editor, and that is where the real magic happens. So that is something where people may see it initially and kind of back away slowly, because we're talking about a rules-based editing system to basically make your own rules, not just settings anymore.
Right. So let's talk about that, because it sounds like, and I know that I did an interview a few months ago when we first saw this, and it was like it was difficult to get my head around, but it's almost a simplified programming language, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a visual format for scripting, and it's something that I am not a technical person. I have made experiences using it with a little help along the way. But sure. Once you kind of see the template, and we've included templates so that players can go in and they can actually see how we've built certain types of experience. And we're going to keep adding new templates. So once you kind of see how it works, it's actually not that hard to throw in like a new rule. Like I quickly threw in something where I said, whenever I want to get a kill, I want to like grow in power. I want to become immortal. And right. So every time I get a kill, I increase my maximum health pool by, 50. And so as I go on a kill streak, all of a sudden I become more powerful. And I did that. And I'm not a technical person. And that's kind of what we hope is that we're going to ease players in, be able to just use the basic rules. It's set up like, I would say it's like a game mode wizard in a way, sure. Where like it's stepping you through the important process of like making a game mode. And then we end with the rules editor. It's like, if you want to go down that path, let's go. And we've tried to build in help tips, and we're going to be adding more tutorials. And we know the community is going to be building tutorials that are way better than anything we could do anyway.
Right.
So we look forward to seeing a lot of that coming too.
Yeah, I think it's important to point out, we saw certainly in some of the video we were just playing, we saw some of the older characters and the older weapons and the newer weapons and the mishmash of the two. But most importantly is the maps. And I mean, that's what we all have our favorite Battlefield map. Mine, I believe, was like Mount Suribachi back in the day. We've all got our own, but you've got the full collection of maps that you can mix and match as well, correct?
Yeah, and with the maps, you get all the maps from 2042, as well as all of the maps from the classic experiences that we recreated. So there's going to be 13 maps in total that players are going to be used. Now, the important thing to note here is that these maps are massive. Like you're talking about like these massive conquest or rush scaled maps. What we've also done, because we know a lot of players are going to want to play or create more intimate free for all or team deathmatch or gun game style experiences. And that doesn't make sense on these massive maps. Right. So we've actually been working with the team to create smaller, more intimate spaces inside of those maps by kind of, closing in the borders, so that builders now have a lot more choice that they can go through, and they can kind of choose a playlist and choose the map size that makes sense for the type of experience that they're trying to create.
Now, Battlefield 2042 is out now as we're recording this, and as folks are listening to this. Where do they go to kind of start their Portal journey and start creating their own Battlefield?
So players can go to portal.battlefield.com. And they're going to be able to get in and basically start building their experiences right away. Now, the one thing you need to note is you'll need an Origin account in order to access it. Yep. And then away you go. Like, you don't even actually need to own the game in order to get in there and just try it out.
There you go. So if you don't have the game yet, you want to get started. Maybe not that I recommend this, but if you're sitting there in your office and maybe it's on your lunch hour and you want to start building a Battlefield experience, head over to do that. Justin, congratulations to you and the team for launching this week Battlefield 2042, and of course you have the the amazing Portal experience. So well done, my friend, and good luck.
Thank you so much. We really look forward to seeing what the community is going to create with Portal.
Cloud Gaming is coming to the console, and joining me today is Jake Rosenberg from the xCloud team. Jake, good to see you.
Thanks for having me, Larry. It's good to see you as well, and I'm excited to be here.
We're really excited. This is a really interesting feature that you've been working on for quite some time. As I said a moment ago, cloud gaming on console, and people are kind of looking at that, and they probably saw the blog post earlier this week. So would you explain to us what this is and maybe why people want this?
Yeah, so really excited that this week we're bringing cloud gaming to Xbox Series X and S as well as Xbox One consoles. We're starting to roll it out, so you might already have this experience by the time you are listening to this interview. But cloud gaming on console is really fascinating because it allows customers to jump into new games without having to install them. Yep. You look around for a new game on your console, you decide, oh, this is super interesting. And right next to your install button, there is a play button sitting there for you to jump in, within seconds. If something's interesting to you, you get to try it out for yourself.
Now, listen, they could stare at us, they could stare at you, they could stare at me, but what do you say we do a demo? I mean, this is I like doing live demos on here. This is live code. So we're going to go ahead and bring this in here. And this is my dashboard. This is really what we're looking at on my console. And I'm going to go, I've already got the Game Pass app queued up here. Now you can also click your guide and go down over here to Game Pass, which is essentially the same entry point. But tell us what we have here, because right here at the top, you've got great with cloud gaming, this whole section. Tell us about this, Jake.
Yeah, absolutely. So it was important to us as we thought through and wanted to deliver an experience to all of our gamers that we put cloud gaming in the place where they expect to discover new games. Same place that you go to for finding your next favorite. You go to the Game Pass app on console, and now you'll start to see games with cloud icons on them. So as you explore, when you go to a details page for any of the games with a cloud icon on them, you can just kind of click into any of them here to get a little bit more information. The ones with a cloud icon on them will have a play button right next to install. We have a little bit of content to kind of explain to folks if they're unaware of cloud gaming or don't know what the new iconography means, that they can jump right into games and that they can still install if they are interested in a game or have decided that it's something that they want to continue playing. But again, it was all about making it, super simple and easy and fast. And when you jump into your details page, as you can see here,
right here,
with that cloud play, that option right there will let you, with a click of a button, connect right to cloud gaming.
So what I did there is, as we were talking, I just went into the Game Pass app. I have Game Pass Ultimate, and it's actually launching the game. It says right there, launching with cloud gaming, and I'm going to be launching Minecraft Dungeons from our blades that live in the data centers around the world. So instead of having to go through the download and you're waiting, you're able to kind of do it very quickly and get into the action. And it's loading up in the back end, and all of a sudden here we are, seconds later, we're going to be playing a game, right?
Yeah. It's a really powerful kind of first moment when you click that button and then all of a sudden, the game has launched. For our Ultimate customers, we know that they want to explore all of the great games that Game Pass has to offer, and being able to try out new ones and jump right into them is really just a magical moment. We don't want there to be any barrier to finding your next favorite game. You can see you, Major, have already enjoyed Minecraft Dungeons.
I sure have.
But it allows you to really kind of find that game that resonates with you. So that was real time. Once you click that play button, as you mentioned, for an Ultimate customer, they'll be able to connect to custom Series X blades in Microsoft data centers across the world. And that allows us to not only power your gameplay experience, but really make something that's engaging and is fun to play. You can see that you're getting a session here that is 1080p, so high quality, and up to 60 frames per second as well, which was important for us to really make sure that gamers are going to have a good time when they're trying out new ones.
So we're playing, I'm playing Minecraft Dungeons, and if I want to go back, let me pull up my dashboard here, and I want to go to another game here. I can see this cloud icon on Golf with Friends. I click on that, and you can see that it's launching. So I can really skip around, Jake, and go to various different titles and kind of go through the whole catalog if I want. There I am in Golf with Friends, which, by the way, I have to say, I played with Phil Spencer on this, and he and I were actually testing this exact title, as you know, Jake. So it was a lot of fun there. But you can just bounce around to different titles, can't you?
Yeah, it's one of the cooler things about removing the barrier of a download time or of an install, or even, frankly, having enough space on your hard drive. I think we've all kind of been there before when you're playing some games with your friends and one of them has a new title that they're super excited about, and they send you an invite and you are stuck because you have to make a decision. You either wait for an install and potentially lose out on the time you set aside to play with your friends, golf with your friends.
Yeah.
But you either have to stop and wait for that download, or you choose a game that you both have installed. With Game Pass Ultimate and now with cloud gaming on your console, because it's the full game, if you get an invite from a friend for a game that they have installed or that they may be playing with cloud gaming, you can just follow that invite right through to a connection with a game in our data center and play with your friends with multiplayer and try out a bunch of different things. Pretty much changed the way game night happens for me and my buddies.
And as you can see here, I've got it. It's on my. You can see the little cloud icon in the lower right-hand corner there on my. And I'm going to go back to Minecraft Dungeons. And what's interesting here is as you and I were talking about it, it allows you to effortlessly go from game. Now, what's that at the bottom there? Want to install. So I can hold that down. Tell me what's going on here, Jake, because this is interesting.
Yeah. So with cloud gaming, we do allow you to play games without installing them. But it's important that we still allow folks to have an easy path for installing the games that they've decided that they like enough to keep playing. As games get better and bigger, we know that storage space on your hard drive is at a premium. So playing with cloud gaming allows you to optimize that space and try out a bunch of different things. But if we know that you've been playing the same game multiple times with cloud gaming, or that you've played for a long enough time that you may have decided that it's a good game and it's one you want to continue playing, we wanted to make that super simple and straightforward for you. So if you click install, then we'll add it to your download queue. You can keep playing with Cloud Gaming, and once you're done with your session there, we'll automatically start up the download for you and install when you're not at your console.
So, I mean, the key takeaway here is that if you want to check out what's available, again, this is starting to roll out this week. So you may already have this, and the way you can find out is if you're a Game Pass Ultimate member, go into the Game Pass app and scroll down. You can click Show All, and then you'll see all these little cloud icons here, and that means, hey, guess what? You're good to go, right? Right, Jake?
Yeah, absolutely. And, a special bonus and one of the things that is really powerful about cloud gaming on your console is if you have an Xbox One, there are some games, next-gen games, that have been coming out in the Game Pass catalog that your console is unable to install and play. But with cloud gaming, as I mentioned, because you're connecting to a Series X in our data centers, you're able to play games that your console may not be able to install. So for Xbox One folks who are navigating around through the catalog, you've launched one here for the Medium. There's a couple of titles, including the Medium, Recompile, and the Riftbreaker right now in the catalog that are next gen, that are playable with cloud, even on your Xbox One console.
Yeah, so you just, boom, again, on your Xbox One, this would, if you're Game Pass Ultimate members, you could click play, and now you have access to, frankly, with Game Pass Ultimate, even more games than you did on your Xbox One, using the cloud gaming technology, right?
Absolutely. And as we continue to expand the catalog and bring more games in, we'll be really excited for Xbox One consoles to continue being able to play next-gen exclusives. That includes Microsoft Flight Simulator, which will be coming in 2022.
This is a great feature for those of us in the U.S. I mean, we've got the holiday coming up with Thanksgiving. You may or may not be traveling with friends. I know I've got my Backbone ready to go see my family, so I'll have that in my backpack as I travel, so I can cloud game. But now you can go and you can have access to this massive catalog of games when you sign into a friend's Xbox, even an Xbox One, as you just said, when you sign in with your gamer tag and you have Game Pass Ultimate, you'll be able to play this amazing collection of games. That's really interesting. That's great news, isn't it, Jake?
Yeah, it's a really easy way to not only show others what your favorite game is and what you've been playing, but because it's all based on console games that are in the Xbox network, your save progress will follow you wherever you go, even if you're signing in on a friend's Xbox, as you mentioned. We showed off Minecraft Dungeons a little bit earlier, and you already had your save progress there, even though the game wasn't installed on that console. So it's a really exciting time for Game Pass Ultimate members, and to be able to just try out a bunch of different types of games on the catalog and see what works best for you, because who knows better what games you will like other than you.
I mean, we've heard you and I, and certainly the gamers have been talking about, and listening to Phil Spencer talking about, we want to put gamers at the center. And that's really, this is another example of that, where we're like, hey, yes, you've got a console, regardless of what Xbox console you have, to, Xbox One or Xbox Series X or S. We want to make sure you have access to as many games as possible, and using the technology that we have. Jake, I know that I said at the beginning of the interview, you work on the xCloud too, but you actually work on one of our technology teams that works across Microsoft, making sure that we use Azure and all the different technologies that we have to bring a great gaming experience to life, right?
Yeah, so I work for the Xbox Devices User Experience team. So I helped kind of create the experience that we've been showing off in the demo today. But this has been a massive partnership across teams within Xbox, in xCloud, as you mentioned, in Azure, and on the console to deliver a seamless experience for everybody. And I can't go through this interview without calling out the testing that we've been doing with our Xbox insiders for the last month or so. The feedback and just the help has been overwhelmingly positive, and just really a great experience in communication with our insiders to build the best experience possible, so that we could deliver to our GA customers this holiday.
All right, Jake. Well, I appreciate you showing this off. Well, I recommend people that, they may have it right now. Again, you're starting to roll it out. If you have Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, go check it out. Look for the little cloud icons, and you can sample dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of games. And if you like one, then it'll tell you, hey, do you want to install it if you go back and play it again? So it's a nice little feature. I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys are going to be doing with this in the future. Jake, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited and can't wait to get gaming.
Big week for Xbox, 20th anniversary stream we had on Monday, and you probably remember seeing this woman right over here. Peggy Lowe's in charge of our Back Compat program. Of course, over on the right-hand side is Jason Ronald, head of platform. Jason, good to see you. Peggy, good to see you guys.
It's great to be here.
Great, Larry. It's always fun to get you guys on because you guys work on the platform. Jason, your team is in charge of platform engineering and so forth. And Peggy, you were on stage earlier this week talking about the Back Compat program. I'm sure some people saw the news, but for those that didn't, or maybe weren't paying attention, go ahead and can you give a quick recap of what happened on Monday?
Yeah, we really wanted to celebrate the past 20 years of Xbox, and by doing that, we wanted to offer a brand new set of over 70 Back Compat titles from our original Xbox and Xbox 360 catalog, now playable on all of our modern consoles.
That's really exciting. It was great to be, the stream was a celebration, and here you are, on this magnificent stage that we have. It's funny, this is a crazy stage. We'll talk about that later in the show. But here you are talking about the titles, and I know that everybody loves playing their titles on the Xbox, and your team has done such an amazing job engineering and bringing new titles in, and in some cases, making them better with FPS Boost. Tell us a little bit about that side of the program.
Yeah, I think when we started in backward compatibility, the thought of just making games play was, baseline, that would be great. But we knew that because we had access to the latest and greatest tech, we knew we could do better than that. And finding ways to make the games play the best that they can wherever you play them was kind of the secondary, but like this bonus goal that we had. And we knew we had to be committed to that. So things like, enhanced graphics, frame rate boost, auto HDR, all those things were ideas that the team had been tossing around and actually made happen. And it was great to see them come through. And now we're always striving to find new ways of doing it.
And Jason, you're from your side, sitting on the platform side. This speaks to, and you and I have talked about this many times over the years and having you on. This speaks to the real flexibility that we have in the Xbox architecture, right?
Exactly. Compatibility was one of the key tenets when we first started designing the Xbox Series X and S. And it was critically important to us to make sure that we really designed the platform to enable games to not only come forward with players, but also to play better than you've ever seen them before. So things like your progression moving forward with you, the fact that all your game state moves forward with you, your gaming legacy and your gaming history. One of my favorite stories was your experience with Fallout when you first started playing that on Xbox Series X and S. And I think it was, you had some save that you were at like level 54, yep, but you hadn't actually, played in a number of years, and being able to instantly transport you back into that experience. Like, that was just like such a great moment and really kind of validated those original design goals we had.
Well, it's funny you say that, because I was thinking about that as well as I was getting ready for the interview, because back in the day, and when I say back in the day, I don't want to make any judgment about you, Peggy, but, Jason and I are a little bit older, is we remember what it was like having to save your game on a memory card or a memory stick or a memory unit, and where did it go, and where is it, and copy it over and do it. You don't even think about that stuff anymore, right? Because it's all just seamless. And to your point, Jason, that's what happens, Peggy, when your team goes through and lights up some of these titles and you're testing them. There's got to be some moments of surprise and delight, like, oh, I forgot I had that game saved from 2006 or 7 or 8 or 15 years ago, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny being on the compatibility team. We are kind of at this crossroads of like the old legacy games and tech back then, and also being able to experiment with all the latest and greatest. So it's been great. Like, we're doing everything. Like, some of the things that we had to do before was when we were trying to get the original Xbox games up and running, we had to go back and recover some of the original Xbox development kits. And all those were stored on tape, magnetic tape, right? Like it was, so it's like, we're dealing with that tech as well as, we've got like brand new CPUs and GPUs and all this fun stuff. But it's kind of a history of tech that we go through, and it's been a lot of fun. It's a great adventure for all of us, and it's great to see kind of the evolution of gaming on a daily basis.
It's also great to see the fans and how they receive it, because I've received some messages on Twitter, and I know, Peggy, you're not on Twitter, but I know you are, Jason, is some fans who have like, hey, I last played this, whatever the game was, this game when I was in high school, and now I've got 2 children, and my save just came forward. It's like it's like a time machine. It's really unbelievable. And now they're people are having gaming moments with their families, with their new families and their young families that they've never had before. That was kind of when they were, a much younger version of themselves. So you're really doing a great job there, preserving the technology and preserving those gaming moments. It's not just the technology, but it's the gaming moments, isn't it, Peggy?
Yeah, I mean, we think of like preservation, and people think that maybe that's like archiving. And archiving makes it sound like we take the game and we store it in a vault and that's about it. But preservation is much more than that, because we know that these games represent people's memories, experiences, moments in their lives that have changed how they either, game or interact with people. And we knew that was important, that we needed to preserve not just this, digital game, but everything that meant, which also meant like making sure that it played at the best that it could, because people's memories, we think games were the greatest thing back then. And then we look at them and they're like, well, compared to today's games, they seem a little bit more primitive, but
sure.
Sometimes we can do some pretty cool magic to kind of bring them a little bit more to modern times.
Jason, I want to talk to you a little about your team and how your team works on the program, because I mean, Peggy's team is kind of creating this magic, but without your stage, when I say your stage, I mean the platform. It can't really come to life. So tell me about that side of it.
Yeah, as I mentioned before, like, game preservation is now in the DNA of Team Xbox. We've been on this journey of game preservation since 2014, and it really influences everything that we do. And I think we've learned a lot through this process. When a lot of these games were originally written, the notion that the game could still be being played 10 years later on a fundamentally different piece of hardware, or when you think about something like running these games from the cloud, what we're really focused on is, to Peggy's point, so many people have these great emotions and these personal stories connected, but it's also about delivering these games to new generations of players in new ways that were completely not thought of before. Like one of my favorite stories is when we were first starting to experiment with auto HDR. One of the first titles we tried it on was actually Fusion Frenzy from the original Xbox. That game was written before HD even existed, let alone HDR. And to be able to see that game, looking and playing better than you've ever.
Whoops, Jason's running a little bit of a connectivity issue
being
there.
Able to stream games.
Right.
That's a magical experience. And trust me, when the developers were originally making these games, say on the Xbox 360, they never envisioned a world where they'd be streaming that to a mobile device 10, 15 years later. So it's really exciting. And I think we've learned a lot of new ways to preserve these games. And it really influences where we're going in the future.
You talk about that, and Peggy, I know your team has released a lot of these titles for a streaming program. I know that I'm going to be traveling this week, and I have my backbone, and I'm ready to go. So I'll be able to really play these games in, frankly, a new way, on a new platform, a new format. I mean, everything about it is new, and your team and Jason's team, our team, is doing such an amazing job of giving me those games wherever I am. We always tell Phil when everybody plays, we all win, or that's what Phil says. That really rings true in so many ways on so many sides of our business, doesn't it, Peggy?
Absolutely. I'm so excited that you get to play some games via xCloud. We also offered some new FPS boost titles this week as well, that specifically for xCloud. So enjoy those for sure.
Yeah, in fact, it's funny. We've got, if you go over to Xbox Wire, we have this article, and here's kind of the graphic from the article. Over 70 new backwards compatible games. Many of them, you said, you just alluded to that, are FPS boost, frame per second boost. Can you explain a little bit about what that means to some folks that maybe understand? Okay, frames per second, I get that. I guess I get more frames. So really talk a little bit about that, if you would.
So a lot of times back in the day, these games were running at the best that they could, of course. So let's just say 30 frames per second on previous generations. We knew that was partly because of a limitation of what the tech could do back then. With the advances that we have with the latest consoles and things like that, we know that we can do better and take advantage of those extra power to allow for us to double it. And so things like 60 frames per second is now possible, which will translate into a much smoother gameplay experience for you.
Yeah. It's also, you talked about the resolution and whatnot. And I don't mean this in a negative way, but it's also a little unsettling because you're playing these games that you know that level, this street in this game or what have you. But now you're seeing it at so many more frames per second. You're seeing it sometimes even a higher resolution, with some of the magic that you do. So it's really amazing to relive these games. And as people go into this holiday season, I mean, we have an extraordinary amount of games available in the Back and Pat program, don't we, Peggy?
We have thousands of games across 4 different generations, right? And offering everything from our first launch titles from the original Xbox, which is exciting, all the way to any of our latest and greatest ones. They're all, anything that comes out on Xbox One today will be playable on even Series X and Series S just automatically. So.
Yeah, and one of the other interviews I had Jason, I had somebody on from our the development team or the engineering team regarding game streaming to the console. That's another thing that we're doing for console owners. Tell us a little bit about that. I mean, we have a full interview later on in this show, but I figure you could hit it high level.
Yeah, we're just really excited to be able to bring cloud streaming to the console. One of our real focuses and one of our priorities is to make sure that, we reduce the friction as much as possible for players wherever they choose to play. And with cloud gaming now coming to the console, you can stream games before you choose to download them and install them onto the console. So, if you want to try the latest game in Game Pass, you can instantly do that from the cloud. Or maybe you...
Oh, having a little tech issue there with Jason. Hopefully we'll recover.
The game exciting to enable this as a new capability on the platform.
Yeah, and we'll have a full interview in case you miss what Jason said there. We'll have a full interview elsewhere in this show where we talk about that a little bit more. So it's great to see. It's funny, Peggy, when you think about the Back and Pat program, you're streaming games to the console that couldn't play the games originally, but now it's playing from the. It's kind of this weird paradigm and this weird console inception thing going on, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, this world is crazy as it is. Yeah. A lot of times we do these things and we have no idea if they're going to work.
Right.
And somehow they do. Like with it, half the time we're always like, this works, but we're not sure why.
Yeah, okay. See, some people are like that. They're at home with their computer, some of their technology. It works. Leave it alone. The Back and Pat team knows what's going on, so they're fine that way. But anyway, well, listen, Peggy, Jason, I want to thank you guys again on behalf of gamers. Peggy and Jason, it's always great to have you guys on the show. If you want to check out more of what we've got for these, for the releases, go over to news.xbox.com. I've got the full list of compatible games up on my blog. I'll link that off to that as well. But as always, Peggy, I know you probably don't see this because I know you're not on Twitter, but the gamers just think your team is a bunch of wizards. So on behalf of everybody, thank you for that. And Jason, always good to talk to you.
Well, thank you, Larry, for all these years of dealing with all the feedback. I appreciate it. We listen to everything you bring us.
Thank you.
But I know that you got the brunt of all the feedback, and I think that was a great task of you to handle.
Well, it's a team effort. I'll stand on the front lines and deal with, kind of, I don't want to say deal with it, but kind of assemble that feedback, and your team is in the back room kind of doing your magical work. So thanks, gang. Go check out those titles available now. Over 70 new backwards compatible games. Some of them have FPS boost, are available right now. So if you're a Game Pass subscriber or you have some of those old games kicking around, go check them out. Thanks, gang.
Thank you so much to all of our guests. And wait, I'm still here. I'm still in the seat. Jason, the benevolent Jason Ronald has deigned it that I can stay in the seat here for the second half of the show. For now. I won't get too comfortable.
Always good to talk to Jason. Of course, Peggy, her band of magical back compat wizards are working away there. It's also interesting to point out is that the program really kind of they're done, right? They kind of talked about that. Is that they're let me see if I can bring up my notes here. There's a blog post on the Xbox anniversary celebration over on Wire, on Xbox Wire, and they're kind of wrap it up there. So it's great to see the work that they've done there. So to celebrate it, they've got 70 new,
and they've brought over hundreds and hundreds of games, which I still go back and play. And the fact that they've added FPS boost to, there's a couple games now that I'm like looking at like, okay, I should maybe go back. I've never played some of the Fable games and stuff. So
right.
That work is appreciated even for games that are 15 years old at this point.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting because the line they have in the blog post is talking about, while I'm just going to read this verbatim, so bear with me. We continue to stay focused on preserving and enhancing the art form of games. We have reached the limit of our ability to bring new games to the catalog from the past due to licensing, legal, and technical constraints. So thank you for being part of the journey. So thank you so much for that. Thank you for all the work those guys have done, that team. So.
It was cool to see in the show on the stream on Monday, just like that moment, because that was such a seminal moment back in 2015 when that backward compatibility program was announced, and they've done so much work. So my hat's off to them.
Can we talk about something from the stream that no one's really talking about? A few people, and you and I have been in television production for some time. You know where I'm going with this is we have a new extended reality stage. So if you go back and watch it, I mean, those people, it's not a green screen. They're on this crazy, it's the kind of the stuff that, that people know that they're using for the Mandalorian. So, but we don't have a child or a lightsaber. But we've got,
you have a child, Larry.
Well, no, I'm just saying the child meaning,
I know Baby Yoda.
But yeah, so that's our new extended reality stage, and Jeff and I are dying to get back on that thing because I want to see me in. I don't know where should I go in extended reality. Let me know, and we'll see if we can do that. So.
I know. I just want to see that stage. You've been in that room, right? So
I've actually stood on the stage, and I was doing some tests on that stage, and hopefully we may shoot. Earlier in the show, we talked about doing some interviews with some of the podcast folks. We may shoot some of that in there. I'm hoping. So stay tuned.
No, that would be really cool.
Yeah.
That would be really cool.
So stay tuned. All right, we got some news here to cover before we wrap up because we got a lot to do. So why don't you get started there, Jeffrey? What do you got?
Sure. As momentous as this week has been with the 20th anniversary and everything that entails and that we've talked about over the course of the last, close to an hour at this point, there's been more. And so I will jam through some of these. There is an update, the November Xbox update, which introduces color filters, audio settings, accessibility feature tags, and more. There's a ton there. But basically, this increases accessibility. The color filters will help those who are perhaps can use that customization, I would say, to distinguish between colors that might appear similar, especially folks with, let's say, red-green color blindness. And so you can go into the accessibility settings on your Xbox console and to fine-tune those and make them good for you. Updated volume and audio output settings, new accessibility features in the Microsoft Store. So game developers can tag their titles so that before you purchase what accessibility features are in those, and you can make your purchase. Or
I mean, there's a lot of people talking about them on YouTube. A lot of folks that are involved with this, but it's always good to see it kind of all in one place as well.
And as of now, over 325 games, including Microsoft Flight Simulator, Sea of Thieves, they already have that accessibility data published. So take a look and inform yourself before you invest.
By the way, another tip. we're talking about Halo Infinite again is because if we play with some folks from the studio, is go in and change your colors, the default colors for like the enemies and the friendlies and the crosshairs. Go in there and do that because some people different colors will pop depending upon how you see things.
Yep. Yeah. I ended up changing. So my enemy color from red to purple to like there's a really bright purple, and my friendlies to yellow to offset. So it's sort of like a Lakers thing. And it took like one match and I was already good to go. But yeah, especially, people might change their armor to be red, and then it can, just that split second can be helpful. Speaking of split seconds, oh my God, what a segue.
Wow.
We've talked a lot as we were gearing up for the launch of Xbox Series X and S about how these consoles, everything from the controller all the way to the HDMI cable that goes into your TV, are reducing latency and getting you closer to the game. Mm-hmm. Well, those advances in reduced latency, we are bringing that dynamic latency input feature to Xbox One wireless controllers with Bluetooth support. So those are the ones that basically have the headphone jack in the bottom. And so most of those ones that came out in like the last several years of the Xbox One generation, as well as the Xbox Adaptive Controller and the Xbox Elite Wireless Controller Series 2.
Yep. Looking at the notes.
It will basically deliver those inputs more efficiently to your console for more responsive gaming. So basically, you're just going to be prompted to update the controller, and the controller does the rest. There's also additional updates to the Xbox mobile app and Xbox Game Pass and how that shows up on the console. We have all this over on Xbox Wire. It's a ton of stuff. Definitely dig into it and look into your settings and help customize the console to suit you and your needs the best.
The controller, I was looking at the controller firmware. One of the controller firmware notes is we have better Bluetooth connectivity. We've got support for Bluetooth Low Energy, which gives better compatibility. But one of my favorite things is the pairing button on the back here. You can now double tap that, and it will go between the last remembered console and your wire. Your PC.
Bluetooth.
Or maybe your phone. It'll go back. You'll just go back and forth. So it's just like boop, 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 boop. So it's kind of cool.
So you don't have to repair every time.
Yeah,
so it does save you trouble.
And trust me, I have given my feedback to the hardware team. Right? I've been very clear. I'm like, what are you guys doing? This is the only Bluetooth device in the world that doesn't have a Bluetooth light. I don't know when it's pairing. So they're working on that, and they fixed some cool stuff.
Very cool. All right, Age of Empires.
Sorry, rant over.
Sometimes I just got to let you get it out of your system.
Thank you.
So about 3 weeks ago, that Age of Empires 4 launched, and you might be thinking, I've played through campaigns, I've been enjoying skirmishes. What's next? Well, the Age of Empires team this week announced the roadmap. What is next for Age of Empires 4? Talking about a patch which has been released that has both system updates and performance fixes. The Winter 2021 update that's coming that's a pretty meaty update, adding a lot of performance and bug fixes and adjustments and all kinds of things that you, the fans, have been asking for. And then in spring 2022, a lot of new stuff coming up. User-generated content creation control.
You almost said UGC.
Creator tools. UGC. That's real. That's what it actually says on the graphic. But that's
the internal
baseball thing.
Yeah, that's the internal one, right?
Yeah. Seasons are coming. There's a ton of stuff coming. So as an Age fan, head over to either ageofempires.com or Xbox Wire, and you will see that. This is really cool. Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice is now enhanced on PC. So it's actually 4 years ago that Hellblade first came out, and now just this week they made that free update to make the game optimized, not just for Xbox Series X and S, but which had already happened. Those enhancements are now coming to PC. So definitely want to take a look. There's some really cool reflection things, level of detail. There's a lot of like sort of before and after pictures. Already a beautiful game.
Right.
Now even more advanced. And really when you look at some of like the way the ground, water reflects on the ground, it's like pretty staggering, the advances that Ninja Theory has been able to do. And you can check that out on Xbox Wire. This one's for you, Larry.
Yes.
Did not see this coming. Minecraft and Walt Disney have combined to put the Walt Disney World Magic Kingdom into Minecraft.
Yes.
With the Magic Kingdom Adventure DLC, which is just so cool. There's a ton of skins. Characters that you can recognize.
Attractions.
And it seems attractions, yeah, like from Toy Story, and so it's celebrating the 50th anniversary of Walt Disney World.
Which I
It's
think I
crazy
need
'cause
to
I
go
remember-
visit. I was supposed to go down there. It's funny. I sent this to my friend who's the head of PR for Disney World, and I said, "Hey, have you seen these?" Like, yeah, it's really kind of cool. When are you coming down? I'm like, well, and I asked him, I'm like, hey, I got to check the DLC out. Does the DLC have Club 33? I don't know.
Yeah, that's a great question, Larry.
What was your favorite? What was your favorite when you lived down there? What was your favorite attraction?
That's a really good question. Probably Splash Mountain. That was like one that we just loved. So going to high school in Florida, like you had something called grad night, and in California they might have done something similar, where they would after they closed down the park for the day, close to graduation, seniors, they got to go to the park and basically be there all night or a big chunk of the night, and then you drove back. You slept it off.
But you had to stop at the Waffle House on your way home.
I didn't drive the bus. That would have been good.
Oh, I stopped at the bus. Okay.
Yes, Osceola County Waffle House or something. But Splash Mountain was it. So Space Mountain, Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, also a big fan of that one. It's a Small World. And other fan favorite attractions are reproduced as faithfully as possible in the game, which is so cool. Also a bunch of like Disney characters, 29 of them, and Pixar characters to meet. I really want to check this out. I think it just seems so fun.
I wonder if they have my favorite one in there.
What's that?
Well, it's no longer there. It was 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
I remember that as a kid, and I remember just like, I can't see anything out of the window.
Only because that was before I was a certified diver. So, going underwater is a big deal for me. So that was like, oh, this is great. Even though you never really went underwater, right? You felt like you were going underwater, but you stayed the same. Everything stayed the same. So
it's true. It's true. You were on a track. I always thought it was funny. You had boats with wheels, but that's how it works. Anyway, so you want to check that out on the Minecraft Marketplace, wherever you're at and wherever you play Minecraft.
Wait, there's more news?
I could stop.
Oh, no, keep going. It's a week of news. It's the week of news.
So remember Outriders, when that hit in the spring, huge moment, landing day and date on Xbox Game Pass for console. It's now on Xbox Game Pass for PC. The team working on that has a huge update called the New Horizon update. It's a free update for the game, and it's got new free content. It greatly improves the overall game, so definitely worth checking out. We had a lot of fun with Outriders. I remember playing all the way through. Definitely, probably my most played game through the spring. So looking forward to going back to that. Of course, like I said, if you haven't tried it out, perfect time to try. It's on Xbox Game Pass for console and for PC. So go out there and enjoy it.
Fun.
We had a story on Xbox Wire this week from Luke Bernard, a dev who is producing a game that will be a free educational game coming to Xbox next year called The Light in the Darkness, which is an educational historical experience about the Holocaust in France. So I just wanted to call that out as just like, I think there's a tremendous amount of opportunity for games to facilitate learning. This is something I'm going to have my kid play because it can. When you come into that world, it's different than like the words don't always jump off the page, especially studying history. It can be a little dry and a little boring. And I think this is something people need to empathize more when you're playing. I don't think
it's an or, Jeffrey. I think it's like you're going to learn what some people consider traditional.
Sure. I'm not saying don't read. Don't have that be the takeaway.
But here the the students of today have such an incredible opportunity that you and I never had. I mean, I don't know about you, but afterwards, if I found something interesting, I'd have to go to the public library because before the internet, look up in my World Book Encyclopedia and kind of read this dated article. And now to kind of exist in these worlds of historical worlds are just, it's an amazing opportunity. So it's really,
exactly.
Take a look at that too.
Yeah. So that's coming out, The Light in the Darkness, next year on Windows PC and on Xbox, and we'll talk more about that when that comes out, but I definitely wanted to call that out. And then also because we're not doing a show next week for Thanksgiving, I'm assuming.
No, we are not because I'm going to be traveling for the holiday. It's the Thanksgiving holiday here in the United States, so we'll be with family and some friends. So no show next week, but we'll be back in a couple weeks.
So this is the last chance I'll have to mention something you're going to be part of, and stay tuned to Major Nelson's social channels. There's a Extra Life live stream where Xbox will be celebrating 20 years of gaming, and giving on Tuesday, November 30th. So I'm sure we'll talk more about that as we get closer. Just not. I'm reading the Xbox. Okay. By the way, according to whoever wrote this post, God bless her, Jen Panettone. She does so much great work for Xbox. She called you a legend. Xbox legends like Major Nelson, Aaron Greenberg, and Phil Spencer. How did you get top billing out of that group? I would love to know.
No idea. I have no idea.
So you're going to be part of that stream, and so I would just say
I think it's legends. I don't think she's calling me. I think it's
you're leading it off.
I know.
Wait, are we doing a live podcast from that? Because that might be the case here. Because it's apparently at 10:15. You've got an hour that you're lined up for this, so we should talk about that. Because that would be really awesome. That would be really fun. Yeah. And so let's just assume that I might be joining an Xbox legend, Major Nelson, for the broadcast that starts on November 30th. It goes through to December 1st.
Legend. I don't know if I'd go that route, but okay. I appreciate it.
I wouldn't either, but
legendary in my own mind. So, wow. Are we at the end of the news? Because that was rapid fire. I mean, that would buckle up. That was breakneck.
This was the Thanksgiving dinner of podcasts. It was just a whole lot. It was more than you could probably consume in one go, but you might have done it anyway. And now you're going to need a nap.
Here's what you need to do. Once we're done with the show, go sit down, lie down, loosen your belt, and as Jeff said, take a nap, because we just stuffed you full of news. We stuffed you full with news and information and all sorts of fun stuff. Tips. I mean, what more do you get, right?
I mean, that's it. We've given you everything we've got. So now it's time to put that turkey in the oven.
Thank you to all my guests for joining us this week. Thank you to you for joining us. Remember, I usually put this at the beginning of the show. I'm saving it for the end. We release the show usually every Friday. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google, all the great places. If you like it, please like it. If you subscribe, we're going to love you even more. You can maybe even find Rebecca's mom floating around in the comments on YouTube. You never know. Right, Jeff?
Yeah. Again, we love your comments. We always go back through and reply, especially on YouTube where we can see them the easiest, but all reviews are welcome. So Thanks so much for listening.
We'll be back in a couple weeks. Rebecca will be joining us. She'll be back in the chair. She's been away and she's been busy for a couple weeks, but we'll be back. Again, we're off next week because of the holiday here in the United States. We've got some obligations, family obligations we have to do, but we'll be playing. We'll be on Battlefield, of course. We'll be on Halo Infinite. Look for us in there. Love to match up with you, against you, around you, whatever it takes. We're going to have some fun, right, Jeff?
Absolutely. There's nothing better than after we get just our butts handed to us to see that tweet.
To see the screenshot.
That's GG Major Nelson. And
hey, we're all having fun. That's all that matters.
I love it.
We're in this game to have fun. All right, gang. We'll see you if you're in the US or wherever you are. If you have a holiday coming up, have a great holiday. Have a great time with family. Stay safe. And we'll see you guys in a couple weeks. And thanks for listening. And thanks for liking and subscribing. We'll talk to you guys later. Bye-bye, everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving.